Well, the for sale sign went up on Thursday, and by Sunday, 3 offers were on the table for a home right there in Highland Park. This is happening more and more in these parts. Channel 11's Jennifer Abney looks at the 2 driving factors that are making our part of the state really a seller's market.
Michael Silverstein spent 2 years remodeling a rundown and abandoned home in Highland Park. Now his hard work is paying off.
We put the house on the market Thursday before the Super Bowl, and I remember by Super Bowl Sunday I had 3 offers and over 20 appointments had been seen just in a matter of days.
Selling fast and $15,000 above asking price.
It's pretty hot right now.
Realtors say 5 years ago, the same house would have been on the market at least 30 to 90 days. They credit the trend to 2 things.
The interest rates are so low, it affords them nice houses. People are able to buy a nice house on a modest salary.
The number of properties on the market is lower than it was last year, and last year was lower than the previous year.
Low inventory and low interest rates are a seller's dream and a buyer's nightmare.
My brother Steven and I work as a team. We had 7 properties sell within less than a week just in the last 2 months, many of which had bidding wars.
And it's not just happening in Pittsburgh. According to West Penn Multi-List Inc., closings are up 10% in southwestern PA last year, and the average sale price jumped 6%. When you zone in on Allegheny County, the average home price skyrocketed nearly 14%. As for this seller,
I'm ready to do it again.
He's already buying a house in the same neighborhood. Jennifer Abney, Channel 11 News.
More proof the Pittsburgh housing market is where it needs to be. Business Week came out with a report today rating the strongest housing markets in the nation. Here they are, rounding out the top 5: Boulder, Colorado; Spartanburg, South Carolina; New Orleans, Binghamton, New York; and Fayetteville, North Carolina. Pittsburgh number 6 on that list. Business Week looked at single-family home values that rose in the second quarter of this year compared to 2008.
The real estate market in general in western Pennsylvania, how is it faring these days?
It's pretty hot right now. It's always been a stable market, but right now inventory is at an all-time low. The number of properties on the market is lower than it was last year, and last year was lower than the previous year. Also, the interest rates are incredibly low right now. They're at an all-time low. So the number of buyers that are looking seems to be higher than it was in years past.
Why do you think the inventory is low?
That's a good question. I think that it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where there are not enough properties for people to move into, so you're not going to put your house on the market if you don't have something that you want to purchase. So move-up buyers don't have a house to move into, so they're not going to put their house on the market. Real estate market in Pittsburgh didn't experience the bubble that the majority of the country did. We've always had a pretty steady increase in prices, not double-digit appreciation. To that, we are similar to the rest of the country right now because I think there is a housing crisis where there are not enough properties for sale nationally in most cities. When we met with Michael to list his property, he gave us a price that he wanted to list it for. I suggested to list it for $10,000 more. He said, well, I just want to get this sold. I don't want it to sit on the market for 6 months. When we put it on the market, I knew we'd have a lot of showings, but I didn't guess we'd have 20 to 30 showings within 48 hours. We had 3 offers, and all of them were well above asking price and ended up selling more than $15,000 over asking price.
Wow, so it wasn't just a matter of him offering a low-ball price or get a quick sell price, and
no,
he actually did better than that.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's more attributable to the neighborhood, to the property?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Highland Park is a very desirable neighborhood, and it continues to be, especially with the development of the business district, and also the redevelopment of the businesses in the center of East Liberty. But also, as you saw, the renovations that he did made it very desirable. It's not just this property. We've had multiple offer situations on a lot of listings this I wouldn't even call it spring yet because it's still winter-like weather, but the spring market has sprung. We had 7 properties. My brother Steven and I work as a team. We had 7 properties sell within less than a week just in the last 2 months, many of which had bidding wars, and these were in Lawrenceville, Highland Park, Squirrel Hill.
Compare that to 5 years ago. You're listing those same houses, how long do you think it takes to sell them?
Maybe 30 to 90 days.
That's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, which was still pretty good. 30 to 90 days isn't something to complain about, but it wasn't like this.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of buyers being able to afford slightly more house than in the past due to the low interest rates. So when they're shopping by monthly payment. So if they have to come up a few $1,000s in order to get the house, if it's a competitive situation, if there's multiple offers, it's not a huge hit in their monthly payment. They're able to afford more house, so they're willing to pay a little bit more if it's competitive.
Are we unique at all here, or is this kind of the national trend?
The national trend is a shortage of inventory. Pittsburgh, especially, we work in the East End, has a severe shortage of inventory of houses that are ready to be moved into, that are ready to go.
And I guess your thoughts on why there's such a shortage of inventory?
I think the low interest rate, I think people are realizing that it is easy to buy a house, that it's easy to get pre-approved for a loan, that you don't need 20% down. You could be in a house with 3.5% down. And the interest rates are so low, it affords them nice houses. People are able to buy a nice house on a modest salary.
Are banks lending money again when it comes to buying houses?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a misnomer that FHA loans are a nightmare, and if you're a seller, you don't want your buyer to have FHA loans. I had 2 appraisals in the last month that were FHA. They cleared, no conditions, no problem. Buyers can come with as little as 3.5% down. People can get pre-approved through local lenders, and it's not what it used to be, but it is not impossible to get a loan. This weekend I wrote 4 offers that were on properties that had multiple offers. So 4 of the 5 offers I wrote this past weekend, they were competitive situations and there were multiple offers.
Good time to be a realtor.
You have to win. You don't get paid unless the buyer gets the house.
Right.
If you've
I bought the house in December of 2010, so a little over 2 years ago.
Hey, do you mind telling us what you paid for it back then?
Sure, I paid $85,000 and then spent some time renovating, as you can see, and hoping to turn this into a beautiful home. When I bought it, it was abandoned and pretty rundown. We put the house on the market Thursday before the Super Bowl, and I remember by Super Bowl Sunday I had 3 offers and over 20 appointments had been seen just in a matter of days. So it was certainly exciting, it was certainly rewarding, but I think really reflected what's happening in the area.
So were you surprised by that?
Oh, very much so. I was thrilled. I mean, who wouldn't be? I had certainly set aside a couple months to deal with the sale process and expected appointments to run weeks and weeks, and that had sort of been my experience in the past when selling a home, that, you know, constant effort, constant appointments, constant customers, and it's just not right. Quite the opposite this time. There was competition, you know, 3 offers on the table actually competing for this house, so that was really interesting to be a part of. Yeah. Well, there seems to be a lot of demand right now for green and or just like architectural renovations. I think people are really excited for the sort of old character that comes with these old homes, but the modern features, and like, at least in my observations, that's been something that people really responded well to, having, you know, a beautiful home that's over 110 years old, but having the granite countertops, having the open floor plan. And that also has been something I think that made a difference. You want to find the right one, certainly, but there are properties out there still. People are realizing that, you know, people who may not be able to afford to renovate their homes right now, they can actually make money by selling it to an investor or to a renovator. So that's an opportunity for those of us who maybe don't want to go into a full-scale renovation. There still are options to make money in this market.